Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. And let me just tell you, this is interview number 2 with my rock star guest, Aaron Norris. You got to watch California Crash 2.0, which I think I'm going to call the first video. Because if you didn't, you need to. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, man. So you did a video the other day. I think it was a live stream, if I understood what was going on, talking about Mr. Gavin Newsom. He survives the recall on Tuesday, and by Thursday, he was already single-handedly changing the single-family housing market in all of California. He's abolished single families, and the world's different. What do you think?
Yeah, he's ticking off planners. I immediately was talking to all my planner friends. I'm like, how do you feel about this? Are you going to therapy? They are not happy, and this is going to be a mess. But it's clear that they've learned some things from the accessory dwelling unit play, and this is probably going to take a year. I don't think as a real estate investor I'm that excited about this, but it could be exciting if you're paying attention. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah. So specifically, we were talking about SB 9 and SB 10. We are going to do these in 2 separate interviews. So let's talk about SB 9, abolishing single family zoning.
Yeah, this sort of caught me off guard. This was not on my radar until I saw it. I'm like, oh, and so the live stream was just me walking through the Senate bill analysis of both of these, trying to figure out what they are. And I see some familiar names that had Wachowski is on 10, Wiener's on this, Atkins. They had some that played important roles in the accessory dwelling unit conversation in California. But yeah, this one is just Gavin Newsom came on board when he was elected saying, I'm going to create 3 million units. And, during the downturn, we took a decade off of building. So we were behind. I'll never forget Christopher Thornburg. We've been interviewing him for, over a decade. And he, during the downturn, he's like, we're short inventory. Yeah. And as a builder, during the crash, they were, liquidating their assets. You can't be like, hey, can you just keep building just for fun?
Just for fun. Come on. You don't need those lots. I know those lots are half the value. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Those lots did nothing but hold the earth together for 10 years. So yeah. So now we're looking at this, and it caught me off guard because if you look at when you go to the state and you look at bills, I don't typically do this. I've been really getting into the legislative side of late, but I've never seen one that had so many oppositions. And let me show you the page here. Wow. The pros versus the con. The opposition, I had never seen anything like this. That paragraph are all the cities that don't want this.
Wow.
Because basically the state is getting rid of single family zoning for all intents and purposes. If you're in an urban environment, or if you're along a major transit, what do they call it? Like a high quality transit corridor, they got rid of single family zoning and you could build a duplex. I got excited because I'm like, hold on a minute.
Ooh, yeah, I own a couple of those.
Well, because I've been teaching accessory dwelling units nationwide for the last couple of years, that immediately as a real estate investor triggered, lot split and a duplex. According to California law, if I have a duplex, I can also build 2 ADUs, effectively turning an SFR to a 4-plex. Interesting. When you start getting into that changes the cash flow numbers. So in California, if you can, even it sounds expensive, but if you can build a property for 150 grand, that's going to rent out for $1,500 to $2,000, and you can build 3 of those, that makes cash flow happen.
Yeah, it gets pretty exciting, right? So it's funny. I just started. There's a lot. One of the properties I bought during the crash, ridiculous price. It's a full city lot, but the house it's older. It's built way on the back of the lot. So all this front yard, right? So about 6 weeks ago, maybe 8 weeks ago now, I reached out to an architect to start putting up an ADU, right? So I was going to build a small ADU because, again, what could I build? I could have built a 1,250 square foot home, but I'm like, then you do the cash numbers on that's huge. So what I ended up doing is I'm going to build a tiny home, right? It's just more economical, rent versus cost equation, all of that. But when I was working with the architect, we actually designed it where it could be a duplex, right? We put it together where it'll come out as a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, but basically we built it so the second bedroom could be the other kitchen, right? Right. So I'm wondering, I actually reached out to him this morning after listening to your live stream. I'm like, can we make that a duplex instead of a house? So I don't know. I don't know if you know, but
well, one of the things I don't like about this, and it started like this with the accessory dwelling unit conversation, and it appears to me it's a political move. They need to get this in place and then they'll go back, because the way that I'm reading this, I don't know too many owner occupants who are going to take something like this on. And it drives me nuts, because if they want to get serious about getting more inventory on the market, you need to look to the local real estate investors who have
Yeah.
the knowledge, the experience, access to private capital,
The units.
right, and who know how to get these things done. So when I look at these owner occupied requirements,
Oh, I have to be owner
yeah,
occupied. No.
unfortunately for the Senate Bill 9, there are some owner occupancy requirement where if you do a lot split or build a duplex, you're signing something that says you're going to live in the property, and it's like for 3 years or something.
Darn it.
So if you are an early adopter of this, good luck. That's what
Yeah.
happened to some of my pals that did the ADUs. What
Yeah.
sucks is they had some restrictions put on their property that got recorded.
Oh, yeah.
And even though the law has changed to be more landlord friendly, it doesn't matter. They've already got something
It's already
recorded,
recorded,
and the
yeah.
city won't go back and help them out.
Yeah.
So
Okay, well, that really sucks, but that's good to know. Again,
Yeah.
it could change. I could just hold. So I'm just playing this out live for all of us. So right now, I can build an ADU. I've already got that approved. It's in city. I just paid the taxes or processing fee.
mhm.
So I could, in theory, and maybe I should just wait, let the process take over 6-9 months, and then bingo bango, this design, you add the wall, you close off the unit, add a kitchen. Now I can do a duplex. And I will not be living there. Even though it's a nice house, I won't live there.
I'm going to take one of my planner friends to lunch, because one of the things I'm thinking of is the law specifically says, and it's very similar to the ADU, at minimum, they don't want cities to regulate it to where you're building. They can't stop you from building any duplex smaller than 800 square feet. So at that point, if you followed the ADU guidelines and built something that was 800 to 1200 square feet, will you be able to go back and convert that to a duplex? What's the process?
Yeah.
And what will that look like? Now, for me, why that's important is that it's going to probably be easier to appraise, because appraisers are still having a hard time looking at these ADUs, knowing what to do with them.
Yeah.
A lot of investors are using ADUs as rentals, so there's not a lot of sales with ADUs, so there's not a lot of like kind.
Yeah.
And what appraisers are doing are giving you an average square foot cost. Not beneficial for a small ADU, because you're putting the most expensive rooms into smaller square footage. So when they do that, it's just ouch.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're up to current California builder code for the most part. So you're having to do solar
Yeah.
and all of that. So anyway, for me right now, I'm still more excited about the ADU because there is no
Okay.
regulation about owner occupied.
Awesome.
But what I want to research a little bit more is, okay, if we follow the ADU guidelines, will I be able to go back later and switch it to a duplex if I wanted to?
I like it.
And if that's the case, will I potentially, if I'm on a really large lot and I do the duplex, it could mean eventually I'll be able to build 2 ADUs.
Yeah. Yeah. Position it correctly so you leave the lot open.
Correct.
Right?
And why that's exciting, one of the things I've been looking into is upzoning opportunities. So the cities have already gone through, the state has put a lot of pressure on cities to do upzoning to create more density in urban environments. So I know for the city of Riverside, they went through and identified a bunch of locations, which we'll get to in the next SB 10. But they're like, okay, here's where we want density. So in some cases, you've got lots that were R1 that converted to, say, like an R3, so a triplex.
Yep.
If I'm paying attention to that in my local city, that means if there's a single family there, I could build 2 additional units and potentially 3 accessory dwelling units. Additionally, what would that qualify as far as financing? It's still 1 to 4.
Oh,
ADUs
still
do not
residential.
Correct.
Cheap 30-year money, baby.
Correct. So you could have up to a 4-plex with 4 ADUs turning into an 8-plex, but for the sake of financing, you're still in the residential space.
Oh, dude,
so
I have a lot that would be perfect for that. All right, so note to self. Go look at
and
lots.
ADUs are not, because these 2 bills are really focused on urban environments, and they better defined it, but it's still loosey goosey for me. But I think the ADU play, I got feedback. If you look back on the video, there was one guy that said, yeah, I did this and I built like I think 5 additional units on one. It's exciting. I know several investors who've taken advantage of ADUs and they've been really happy with the results.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. I mean, there are, I would guess, if you take the time to understand the ADU rules today, that's probably some search criteria you could put into Property Radar, maybe look for size or unit types, or I mean, there's a way to make some money with this, I would guess.
Yeah, Property Radar is actually really easy. That's my favorite. So the upzoning opportunity, just so you know now, in Property Radar, you look for you can search for zoning.
Mhm.
And that can take a little bit of research. So for an example, I've been working with the LA Times a few times working on some stories about this. So in LA, the zoning is like LA R3, I think it is. That's how they code it. So every county can be slightly different in how they do zoning. But then you look for where there's a single family residence on the lot, and it's a quick and dirty way. The other way to do it is just, I have investors that say, I want to look for lots where the envelope of the home is say 2,500 square feet or under, but the lot size is 7,000 square feet or larger. So there's just more of a chance. And then you can zoom in on the property to see where the property is located on the map. And one by one, pick off the ones you think would be appropriate. For me, I was looking in the opportunity zone in downtown Riverside, where it was that upzoning, where it was a single family was on an R3 lot, and I was specifically wanting to find corner lots where it was also backed an alley. So if I did a sixplex, I could talk to the city about, I'm really into design. Like, why would you want to build something where you would get lower rents because you did a terrible job designing the property? So just don't be a crammer. Don't do that. So you can pick and choose which lots make the most sense and to go after that. So I think there's so much opportunity. It is a little scary if you've never done construction. And right now you just have to understand there is a supply chain problem.
Windows, baby. Windows. Come on. What's up with the windows?
You always need to assume it's going to take you way longer than you're quoted. I'm building in Florida, and it's doubled our construction time, and the costs have gone way up. So just don't let that surprise you. Know that it's coming, or assume it's going to remedy anytime soon.
Well, the last question about SB9 I have is let's say you're a homeowner, you've owned for 10 years, you have no plans of moving. Do you think SB9, again, averages are always hard to talk about. Do you think it increases property values? Because now, I live in the Silicon Valley, Sunnyvale. It's a very old community, lots of 1950s builds, but they're on huge 10,000 square foot lots. Do you think they're worth more now? Should they be excited? Should they be concerned? Because half the street's going to have, become multifamily. Any thoughts?
Not yet. I was teaching with different cities because constituents were really upset, and they're like, what do I tell my constituents? I'm like, that you have no control, and this is a state. So you either play ball or you have to start worrying about SB 10, where instead of an ADU in your backyard or a duplex, because right now it basically says the cities do not have to allow, if you build a duplex, they don't have to allow you to do an ADU on top of it. That could possibly change. And it doesn't mean a city can't be more aggressive. Cities need to create housing. So the city of Riverside, I'm the most familiar with, they have to create 28,000 in the next 5 years, affordable units.
Wow.
Unless they tie into some of the things, I know they're ticked off, but unless they leverage some of these, they're never going to get there with builders. They're just not.
Yeah. They're not. I mean, I don't even think they'll build 28,000 units, let alone 28,000 affordable units. Right.
Now, one of the things I do talk to owners about is just this may be their gateway into a rental for the first time.
True.
They're probably sitting on a ton of equity. If so, for you lenders out there looking for refi business, and this is in your toolbox, and you're trying to reach out to somebody that you did a loan for back in 2010, and they're sitting on $300,000 of equity. Bring this up and just be like, were you aware of this? Do you want a residential unit that you can end up turning into an income property on your property? Never know.
Version of house hacking. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
This is a lot of fun, Aaron. You put out a lot of great stuff. Where can people find this live stream? You did this on Facebook, right?
I did this on Facebook. Yeah, I don't even think you have to be friends with me. You can and look it up. And I did it was sometime in, let's see, was that the Friday? So that was September 17th was when I did the live stream on it. And I just walked through the Senate bill analysis.
It was fun.
Just telling investors where I think they could also get stuck, because the cities aren't happy. And if we learn from the ADU experience, they do some things to try to mess with you to make it harder. So I'm not excited about this from the investor's perspective just yet.
Not yet.
Oh, because you can't do vacation rentals just straight off the bat. I know that's the one thing that investors right away go, However, you do need to look at co-living or executive housing. I've been shocked. Some of my rentals, what they're renting for the executive rental space, because a lot of landlords are getting out of the business. And if they're furnished rentals, holy cow, it's nuts.
Very cool. Well, this is a lot of fun, folks. This is SB9. The next one will be SB10. Thanks, buddy.
All right.